Joining us on the line right now is Robert Thomson. You know him as Dr. Gridlock from the Washington Post. Good morning to you, Robert.
Good morning, guys.
Well, glad to have you. I mean, we sometimes talk about this desire. In the District of Columbia, there is a desire for people not to bring their cars into the district. The district would be just happy if nobody ever crossed the bridge. They would very much like us to go to bicycles or to public transit. And we sometimes talk about this as being sort of a war on cars. Is there a war on cars in the District of Columbia?
The district would love you to drive into D.C. and pass by one of their speed cameras.
Yeah, well, that's true.
They make a lot of money that way, but because the city expects to add 250,000 people over the next 20 years, and they don't expect to expand their road network very much, they do need people to make other choices besides driving by themselves.
And so we see things like, well, there are fewer parking spaces in some areas, a suggestion that, you take public transit, that you ride your bicycle whenever possible. But really, it's just, for some people, it's just not possible.
That's very true. We're talking about D.C., but get beyond D.C., and it's even less possible for many people to take a bus or take a train. They just don't have access to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't seem practical either. I mean, even within, let's say you lived in the city and you worked downtown. Let's say you lived up, up here where we are in Friendship Heights, and you work downtown. And of course, there's a huge encouragement to take the bike. Well, today's a pretty moderate first day of fall. It's going to be about 73 degrees, but we've got wind gusts up to 20 miles per hour, what can really be a problem when you're on a bike. And then, of course, winter is coming. Do the city planners have any kind of response to that? That all they say is take your bike, and yet a bike is absolutely impossible in the snow.
Well, they're not expecting everybody to suddenly switch to a bike, just like as your traffic reports will show, there's still plenty of people out there driving today. What they would like to happen is a few people to make those kinds of choices to get out of their cars. And even if you just did it one day a month, it would eventually make a pretty big difference on traffic. And it would make things better for the people who do need to drive. They'd have more space on the roads to get around the way they want to get around.
I want to turn to what has been a topic of discussion many times on this program, and that's the Silver Spring Transit Center. There's been some new reporting out there that suggests that they may have known just how serious these problems were some 4 years ago, and yet still they have not resolved all the issues with a very expensive public project.
And there's no end in sight. It's actually the most ghastly fiasco in the entire D.C. region. It's taking longer to build that 3-deck garage, because that's essentially what that Silver Spring Transit Center is. It's taking longer to build that 3-deck garage than it took to build the Silver Line or the Beltway Hot Lanes. Come on, it's a garage.
But forgetting about not being able to finish it, it certainly seems like they have completely mismanaged the planning process. They built this garage, as you call it, in a way that it can't sustain the weight of a bus, which is the whole reason for the garage. And now we're getting a report from the Montgomery County Sentinel that they may have known about it. The politicians, may have known about this up to 4 years ago. Do politicians ever get held accountable for these horrifically expensive and poorly managed transportation debacles?
As far as I can tell, guys, no one has been held accountable at all for the Silver Spring Transit Center. If you were going to hold anybody accountable for anything, that ought to be it. Because, there's no good choice for them. Either they did know about it, which is a real problem, or they didn't know about it, which is also a problem.
Right, exactly. It's remarkable to me that there really hasn't been more scrutiny of that. I mean, you covered this, Dr. Gridlock, here. But are there any other reporters who look at this? This is beyond transportation. This is government mismanagement, government incompetence.
Oh, sure. We've had plenty of stories. Our Bill Turk has been covering this very, very extensively in the Washington Post. This is a very ripe target for those of us who cover the D.C. region and transportation and political issues. If you're a journalist, it doesn't get much better than the Silver Spring Transit Center.
Well, do we have another one in public project that maybe was not well managed in the ICC? I ask this because we've heard that there's like a big paving project underway on the ICC, and it has to do with ruts in the road. That's a new highway, and it gets relatively light traffic. I mean, I travel the ICC quite a bit, and there's not a lot of traffic on the ICC, and already they're having ruts in the road. Is this a problem?
Well, this particular spot definitely is a problem. It's a problem because water got under the roadbed, and this is like anybody in the paving industry will tell you that their worst enemy is water.
Right.
That it gets in there, it freezes in the winter, it undermines the roadbed, and that's what happened in this particular stretch of the intercounty connector. But I have a feeling that the system is actually working in this case because the problem was discovered. It's going to take 4 weekends to fix it, and the contractor is being held accountable. But the contractor will have to absorb the cost of this. All
right, well, there you go. I'm glad to hear that. Listen, Robert Thomson, it's good to have you on the show.
Thanks, guys.